In this video, you are going to learn 5 simple but very impactful etiquette rules or gestures that you can implement in your life as a lady. When you behave in these ways, people will perceive you as very classy and high value. Because nowadays, unfortunately, not many people are actually using these gestures in their life. And they are so simple. We will start with number 1. Standing up when someone enters the room to greet them. Yes, ladies, this also applies to you. You might think that this is like an old school etiquette rule for men to stand up when a lady enters a room to greet her, but in modern etiquette, it doesn't matter if you are a woman or a man. Standing up when someone else enters the room will make you stand out from the crowd and look very classy and exceptionally considerate in front of other people. This simple action has such a great and high effect on the person that will arrive that they will never forget it, and you might even set the tone for all the other persons in the group to follow your behavior. So what is the effect? Imagine you are entering a room and there is a group sitting. It can be a professional meeting, but it can also be a private meeting with friends in a restaurant, for example. And then the people are greeting you, but they are not standing up. And one person stands up, looks you straightly in the eyes and greets you. How are you going to feel? You are going to feel important, valued. And how will you perceive the other person? You will think, wow, that person has skills. This person is super sympathetic, they are very considerate, you will like them instantly and you will consider them as very high value and polite, right? So be that person. Not standing up when a new person arrives can show a lack of interest or even a lack of respect. And, in worst case, it can make you look lazy, which is very unattractive. There is one exception though, of course, or maybe 2 exceptions. First of all, if you cannot stand up due to the situation, because there are of course situations in which you are in a group setting, you are sitting, for example, in a restaurant, but you are sitting in between people, or there is very little space, or you are wearing something that doesn't allow you to get up easily. In that case, these are more special situations. It is okay if you don't stand up. Establish eye contact, look the other person in the eye, smile and nod to greet them. Gesture number 2. Removing your earphones when you meet another person that might engage in a conversation with you. So this is another very practical example from our daily life. And I am guilty myself. I am often using or walking around with earpods because I'm listening to audiobooks or to podcasts. And sometimes when I'm entering a shop, like a bakery or something, I don't remove my earphones. And sometimes I'm really struggling to hear what the shop assistant is saying. But what you should really do, and especially when you are meeting someone on the street, someone that you know, or someone asks you for directions or something, you should remove your earphones, and not only one, but both. Because this simple gesture again will signal to the other person that they get your whole attention. It shows consideration, it shows I am here for you. There is nothing else that matters in that moment. The podcast can wait. And this establishes bonds. Again, you don't know what might develop out of this conversation. It shows that you value face-to-face communication and is a sign of elegance. Gesture number 3. Be mindful of your voice, and I mean the volume, in public spaces. So this might not apply to all of you. For example, I am a rather shy and introvert person, so I never speak very loudly in public spaces or when I'm on the phone, but many people do. And they are not even aware of how loud their voices are when they are talking on the phone in a train, in a bus, in a waiting room, or in another shared public space. This looks a little bit vulgar. It's not only that it's inconsiderate, but it also makes you look the opposite of classy. That's why, if you are not so aware of that, you should pay attention to not raise your voice too much in public spaces. Public and shared spaces are always spaces where you should show consideration and respect to the other persons. That means when you talk on the phone, someone calls you or you have to make a phone call and you are in a space like that, unless it's a space that you cannot get out and it's super important, just talk outside. Or maybe wait until you are in a situation where you won't disturb anyone. Gesture number 4. This has to do with number 3 a little bit. It's like an extension of number 3, and it is about gestures in shared public spaces. And what I'm referring to is something that I also see very often when you are in a train, on a train or in a bus or in a waiting room, and there is not so much space. I often see that women, especially women, are putting their handbags or their shopping bags on the seat next to them. And I also do that sometimes. But the thing is, if it's an empty train or an empty waiting room, that's no problem. But if the space is already quite crowded and there are most seats occupied, and then you occupy another seat next to you, you signal that you don't want anyone to sit there. And this might come across as a little bit inconsiderate, especially in the spaces in which people enter and they don't find a free spot. Imagine you enter a train or a waiting room and there is no free space, and then the only free seat is occupied by a shopping bags. Of course, you could ask in that situation, may I sit there? And the person might take the bag away because they may just not be aware, but it's not very comfortable for you. And it also doesn't make the person look very considerate because apparently they don't wanted you to sit there. So what you should do, first of all, if you are in such crowded spaces and for reasons of comfort, you put your bags next to you. The moment someone enters the space, you should immediately remove your bag or bags from the seat so that the other person can sit down without having to ask. So be proactive in this. It reflects consideration and awareness for others, which is another very attractive characteristic. And gesture number 5, body language. Here I will give you several tips that are easy to remember. They are very simple, but many women, many ladies tend to do these wrong. I have observed that. So the first is very fundamental during a conversation with someone else, keeping eye contact. So maintaining eye contact is a sign of respect and validates the other person. If you are in a restaurant or in a bar and you are talking to another person and your gaze wanders around, and it might be because you are simply very interested in what is happening around you, but it subconsciously, and not only subconsciously, it also consciously signals to the other person that either you're not so interested in them or they are not very important for you. It simply comes across as rude. A classy lady wouldn't do that. That's why you should really pay attention to the other person you are talking to. You can look around later. The second thing that you should apply in a conversation is an open posture and body language that is not turned away. So these two things are extremely impactful in how you are perceived by other people. First of all, don't use crossed arms when you are talking to someone. And I see that often, but I know that crossed arms do not always mean that you want to distance yourself or that you are defensive, but they can also simply mean that you feel cold or you want to feel comfortable. It gives you some kind of comfort. But unfortunately, these signs reflect to most of the people around you, either consciously or subconsciously, rudeness and disinterest and distance. So you should avoid that. And the same applies to turning your body away. So being turned away and talking to the other person is also not the best sign. So try to simply turn towards the person that you are talking to. These gestures are as impactful or can be even more impactful than words, than what you are saying, because they are on a deeper level and oftentimes perceived on a subconscious level. And we all know that more than 80% of our communication is nonverbal. So by applying these gestures, and I mean all 5 of them, you are going to make yourself appear as a high-value woman, a classy lady. You will inspire others, you will cultivate a mutually respectful and considerate atmosphere, you will be more successful in life, you will have stronger bonds, and you will make more meaningful connections, and this is all beneficial for you and the others. It really doesn't cost you anything, and this is the best. These are simply gestures. Really, most people are unfortunately not doing this anymore, or doing it very rarely. So when you do all 5 of these, you will really stand out from the crowd. And now I have a question for you. I would be very interested what you think about those 5 gestures. Do you think that they are adequate in today's society, or do you find them too much or exaggerated or unnecessary? Also, let me know how your experience is, for example, in your particular country or in your particular culture. I will be very happy to read from you. And the other thing is, if you like that video and if you like all kinds of topics with regard to femininity, give me a thumbs up and share this video. And of course, if you aren't already subscribed, click the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. So I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.